A guy brings his girlfriend home to meet his parents for the first time, but the moment she sees his dad is blind and his mom walks with a limp, her whole attitude changes. She drags him outside. "Your parents are like that? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I did tell you. I literally told you about my parents before we came. They just have some health issues." And she turned around to leave. He didn't want his parents to get hurt. He swallowed every last bit of his pride, grabbed her arm and begged her, voice shaking. "If you want to go, I won't stop you. Just stay for dinner first. It's so dirty in there. How am I supposed to eat anything they cook?" She walked out without looking back. His mom got down on her knees begging her to stay, and all she got in return was the sound of footsteps getting farther away. His parents were crushed. They both knew their broken bodies were holding their son back. So his mom, through tears, begged her son to leave. Leave for good. Pretend they were already dead. But he refused. He said even if he never got married, he would never do something so heartless. His dad grabbed a stick to drive him away, but he knew no matter how hard he hit him, his son wouldn't leave. So he reached into the corner and pulled out a bottle of pesticide, threatening to drink it if he didn't go. "Are you leaving or not? Are you leaving? Go, just go!" He looked at his dad's bloodshot eyes, his mom's shoulders shaking as she sobbed into her hands, and he finally broke. He dropped to his knees and kowtowed 3 times. Then he left with a broken heart. Back in the city, he still held on to hope. As long as he worked hard enough, he'd find someone who wouldn't care about where he came from. But every single time before things got serious, he'd be honest about his family, and every single time they'd find some excuse to break up with him. At first he told himself he just hadn't found the right one. But after getting rejected so many times, he slowly accepted the way this world works. So he gritted his teeth and started hiding the truth about his family. He finally met someone new and things moved fast. They were already talking about marriage. A few days before the wedding date was set, he went back home and told his parents he was getting married. "Why are you back again?" "I came back because there's something I need to tell you. I'm marrying Yingxi, and before the wedding I want to tell her the truth about our family. I don't want to keep hiding it anymore." But his mom shut it down. She said absolutely not, and that neither of them would come to the wedding. They wouldn't interfere in his life. They didn't want to scare another girl away. Then his dad reached under the blanket and pulled out a worn, crinkled bank book and pressed it into his son's hands. When he opened it, his eyes went red. Every single penny he'd ever sent home. They hadn't touched a cent. "The money you sent us, I'm not a single penny spent. We don't need it. Take it. Son, your dad and I were useless." The wedding day came. He stood there in a sharp suit, arm in arm with his bride in her wedding gown. But to keep up the act, he'd paid 2 people to pretend to be his parents, just to get through the ceremony without anyone asking questions. What he didn't know was that his real parents were standing outside the glass, watching the happiest moment of his life, and getting chased away by security like they were beggars. The commotion caught his mother-in-law's attention. She asked if he knew the people outside. He glanced over and forced himself to say no. After the reception ended, he slipped away under the excuse of using the restroom and bolted outside. But the doorway was empty, just 2 crooked, muddy footprints on the ground. His parents were long gone. Life after the wedding was peaceful and sweet. His wife was kind and loving. Things were looking up. But that secret sat on his chest like a boulder. He could barely breathe. Then one night, his wife went on a work trip and decided to test him. She made a fake account and messaged him, playing it flirty. "Hey, it's late. What are you doing still browsing online?" "My wife's out of town, can't sleep." "Oh, wife's away, huh? Perfect time to find yourself a little company, right? At least find someone to chat with online. If you're looking for that kind of thing, sorry, wrong guy. I'm not who you're looking for. Goodbye." His wife was grinning at her screen, but what came next wrecked her completely. "Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Don't be mad. Looks like you really love your wife, huh?" "Yeah, I really do love her. And besides missing her, do you ever miss your parents?" "Miss them?" That's an understatement, and it's not the same kind of missing you're thinking of. "What do you mean, not the same? Missing your parents, and isn't that just crying sometimes? When you miss your parents, maybe you cry. When I miss mine, my heart bleeds." That sounds a little dramatic, don't you think? If you knew my story, you wouldn't say that. Neither of us can sleep anyway. Why don't you tell me? Bottling things up for too long will eat you alive. Maybe saying it out loud will help. Talking to a total stranger online, he finally let his guard down and told her the secret he'd been carrying for years. Turns out, he grew up in a remote, dirt-poor village. When he was little, his house caught fire. He got trapped inside and the smoke blinded him. Doctors said the only way he'd ever see again was a cornea transplant. His mom kept it from everyone and quietly signed the consent form, giving him her own corneas. "You gave your corneas to your child. That means you'll never see again. As long as my kid can see, I don't care if I go blind." After that, the family no longer had a blind child, but now had a mother who couldn't see. When his dad found out, he was devastated. She went and gave their kid her corneas. Sigh. A grown man crying like this. As long as our kid can see, that's all that matters. His son recovered his sight and didn't let them down. He got into a top university. To scrape together his tuition, his dad hiked up the mountain every single day to harvest herbal medicine. His mom went and twisted rope for other people, hands blistered and bleeding, but she refused to stop. After 366 days, they finally had enough. He thought the hard days were finally over. But when he graduated and brought his girlfriend home to meet his parents, everything fell apart. She took one look at the rundown thatched house and his disabled parents, and her face changed. She ended things on the spot. His parents knew they were the reason, so they threatened to drink pesticide just to force him to leave, and in the end they couldn't even attend his wedding. For years he lived in guilt, thinking about them every single day, too afraid to go back, too afraid to tell his wife the truth. And he had no idea. The stranger he'd just poured his heart out to was his own wife. She was already in tears, staring at the screen. She never knew her husband had been carrying something this heavy. Never knew that her in-laws people she'd never even met, had sacrificed everything to give her husband a life. The guilt and heartbreak hit her all at once. She wanted nothing more than to run to them and call them mom and dad. After getting it all out, he felt a little lighter. But then he looked out the window, lightning splitting the sky, rain hammering the glass, and his stomach dropped. He thought of that drafty thatched house back home, his blind mom, his limping dad. A wave of dread seized him. He couldn't wait another second, grabbed his jacket and rushed home. But he was too late. That night, the storm had torn down the house they'd lived in their whole lives. He tore through the village and saw the neighbors all gathered in the direction of his home. He pushed through the crowd and rushed in, nothing but rubble, broken walls, mud and debris piled like mountains. He threw himself at the wreckage, digging with his bare hands, nails torn off, fingertips bleeding, mud and blood running down his hands. He couldn't feel a thing. He just needed to get them out. He just needed to say, "I'm here to take you home. We're going to the city. We're never being apart again." After 3 days and 3 nights, his dad was the first one pulled from the rubble. He and the neighbors carried him out to the yard, but the old man's body had already gone cold. He fell apart. He couldn't accept it. The man who held a bottle of pesticide to force him to leave, the man who saved every penny for him, the man who spent his whole life, every single day, putting his son first, was gone. Before he could even process losing his dad, his mom was pulled out too, but she was barely hanging on. He rushed over to her side, and the very first thing she said, with barely any strength left, was to tell him to leave. "Why did you come back? You never listen to your mother, do you?" Even at death's door, all she could think about was whether she was ruining his life. And then, his wife appeared behind him. She saw her mother-in-law, frail in her husband's arms. She saw his father, cold on the ground beside them, and she dropped to her knees in the mud. "Mom! Mom! What happened? What happened? I'm your daughter-in-law! Look at me! Look at me! Who are you? Don't listen to anyone else. I'm family. I came here to take you home. Mom, how could you keep this from me? I know you're my mother-in-law. I'm your daughter-in-law. Mom, you have to hold on. We're here to bring you home."